November 18th, 2024 meeting of the Richmond Sanitary District Board of Commissioners is called to order. The first item of business is to receive quotes for the primary draw pumps, and we received 2. These are the nice ones. Well, there's probably another one inside sometime.
No, not this one. So this one's from S&K Equipment Incorporated. Cost of pumps and VFDs is $47,657. It's valid till 12/31. They have a certificate of liability. Is there anything else? I think that was it, right?
And then did it have a price 1 and 2?
There's,
Proposal sheet 1.
there was one for installation also.
Okay. Proposal sheet 2, there's no price or information. It
Okay.
just says NA.
And they'll be supplying the pump if we would go with those.
Okay.
Okay.
First one. So second quote's from BBC Pump and Equipment, and it's for $49,996. Quote's valid till 12/14/2024. And the state Indiana local preference. And again, there's only one proposal sheet.
And maybe I'll have to look at, they might have included,
In the price?
Possibly,
yeah.
yep.
We will refer those to management for a recommendation at a later meeting. The next item of business is approval of board minutes from October 29th of 2024.
President Miller?
Yes, Mr. Bakshi?
Motion for approval of board minutes from October 29th, 2024, as presented.
And I will second the motion. There's a motion and a second to approve board minutes from October 29th of 2024 as presented. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item of business is approval of invoices from check dates October 25th and November 1st and 8th of 2024.
President Miller?
Yes, Mr. Bakshi?
Motion for approval of invoices for check dates October 25th, November 1st, and November 8th, 2024, totaling the amount of $294,965.32. Notables included Indiana American Water for $10,725, Cooley Contracting LLC for $83,748.75, 2 from JCI Jones Chemicals Incorporated in the amounts of $12,480 and $14,520. Finally, we had Richmond Power and Light for $47,986.54.
I will second the motion. There's a motion and a second to approve invoices from check dates October 25th and November 1st and 8th of 2024, totaling $294,965.32. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item of business is the director's report.
Yes, Madam President and Board. Before you is the month of September's report. For the most part, this report follows trends that we see all through. I do want to make one note. It is in the financial sheet, the very first page of that on the landfill revenue, top line there, user fee. It showed activity for the month of September as $59,930.07. This is quite low for a normal month, but which you cannot see here, but in the October financials, it's quite larger, so it's just a post-state issue there. So in total, we were still receiving about the same amount of dollars per month as we typically see, but it did come in low here just from however they posted it into the software. Beyond that, though, I do not have any specific notes unless there are questions.
Very much. Do you have anything else to report?
I do not. I mean, leaf pickup is still going on with city and the sanitary district. And that's about all I have.
Okay. Thank you. The next item of business is the recommendation to approve Resolution 6-24, 2024, payment in lieu of taxes, the pilot to the City of Richmond from the Richmond Sanitary District landfill accounts.
Yes, Madam President and Board. The sanitary district does pay this pilot from landfill account back to the city. This interlocal was outdated last year. If you remember, we brought the leaf collection that we pay back to the street department here. At that same time, O.W. Crone ran for us an update of both the leaf and this pilot. At that time, Controller Palmer and Mayor Snow decided not to update the pilot. They kind of sat on that. And then during the budgeting process this year, Controller McGinnis and Mayor Oler asked that we go ahead and move forward with this update. So it was placed in our budget. This update was, so the budget that we passed did reflect this, but this update increased that payment back of $17,347 was the total increase of that pilot. And this was done originally in 2016 was the last update to this.
I saw it in the budget at $290, and I wasn't sure when it said approve an additional appropriation of the 307, which meant we were going 290 plus 307, but you're saying we're just going from 290 to 307.
Correct.
Okay. Questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Bakshi?
motion to approve recommendation to approve Resolution 6-2024, payment in lieu of taxes to the City of Richmond from the Richmond Sanitary District landfill accounts as presented.
And I will second the motion. There's a motion and a second to approve the Resolution 6-2024, payment in lieu of taxes to the City of Richmond from the Richmond Sanitary District's landfill accounts. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item of business is the recommendation to approve Resolution 8-2024 for the Okra Grant submittal.
Yes, Madam President and Board. The sanitary district, and it's been brought here for different stages, but we have been looking to update and improve the levee that goes around the wastewater treatment plant. We started this probably 4 or 5 years ago through long permitting processes on different pieces of that. But as we work towards that, we found that in the Okra grant, they have a wastewater section and there's a stormwater section. And there's a strategic way to apply to both of those. And we felt this project, if we could do it strategically, if it could apply to wastewater, even though it's a levee. So we did get Okra to look at that and review it. And since it is around our wastewater treatment plant, that is the protection. They have allowed it to be applicable for the wastewater treatment plant. So we have put in for that. It has a maximum payout of $750,000 for projects exceeding over $1 million. This project qualifies for all those pieces. We have had, there's approximately 800 and some thousand in our savings accounts that were put back in 2020 for this project when it would come around. So we would put forth that 848 some thousand dollars plus the 750, and then there's some money we've already spent on design work and the permitting and all that process. So we are hoping to submit that, and we would find out. This submittal would be in December 20th of this year. We would find out, Elijah may remember, I want to say it was February of next year is when we would find out if we were awarded this. We did sit last week. Okra came out and kind of did a review. We did an early submittal just to kind of have the project reviewed again and all of our submission pieces reviewed. So we've done that. We are working with Klein Peter Consultant on putting this Okra grant through, and it's early preliminary score by Klein Peter, and through the walkthrough, this seems like an actual good project, a contender for getting these $750,000.
So basically, we are just approving to submit the grant, and
Correct.
I guess but we are not separately approving the money or anything because it's already in the budget.
Correct. It's already in the budget. Our expenditure, this would just be to submit and accept the $750,000 itself. And there will be an ordinance that goes to city council as well when we do, when we do all the grants. We try to do it both ways there.
And as always, thanks to you and the staff. I know that you're always out looking for other sources of funds, which is a fabulous thing to have that opportunity. And thanks for your diligence on that. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Bakshi?
motion for recommendation to approve Resolution 8-2024 for the Okra grant submittal as presented.
And I will second the motion. There's a motion and a second to approve Resolution Number 8-2024 for the Okra grant submittal as presented. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item of business is the approval of the budget transfer for fuel.
Yes, Madam President and Board. Director of Sanitation, we did this last year for fuel as well, but the Director of Sanitation has the authority to sign and send for consideration to finance budget transfers from one like account to another within sanitation's budget. Meaning, when I say like accounts, that I could transfer a account number ending in the 1000s to another 1000s or a 2000s to a 2000s. But only the board, however, has the authority to sign and send for consideration to finance a transfer between unlike accounts, such as sending funds from like a 4,000 to 2,000 or, 2,000 to 1,000. As we discussed several times during the year and during budget cycles, fuel costs have been volatile. That at this moment, there are a few sanitation accounts that are depleted or will be depleted by the end of the year. There were three other accounts besides the one being brought forth, two other ones besides the one being brought forth to you, but they had enough funds in like accounts, 2,000 accounts, that I could make the transfers and cover it through the end of the year. This last one here that I'm bringing before you is the fuel coming out of 6601-0506, which is the trash recycle collection. And with that large fleet, they're the heaviest users of fuel, so even when it's off a little, it's off more significant dollar amount. So what you have before you is a transfer moving monies from three accounts: 6601-0505, 301-3120, 6601-0505, 505-4490, and 6601-0506, 505-4490. The total will move $70,000 into fuel. I do not think we need all 70. But it is just to be in preparation. I believe it's probably closer to 45 or 50 is what's actually needed. But since we're getting close to the end of the year, I wanted to just go ahead and move it conservatively this way. In the three accounts, I kind of laid out in the memo where the excess dollars come from these and why they're able to be moved. In 6601-0505, 301-3120, there were two items in there that were pending grants that we did not receive. So these funds are available then and could be pushed towards this, and that is $40,000 would move towards that. 6601-0505, 505-4490, $20,000 would move. These were from a few items in the capital that were either not purchased basically not purchased in the amount we thought we might need. The two notes in the budget that reflect that came out was the one noted storm and sewer, and the other is materials for catch basins. Those are for different repairs that sewer maintenance makes throughout sewers, and we did not need all those funds this year, not projecting to have needed all those funds. And lastly, there's 6601-0506, 505-4490. There would be $10,000 that move. This leftover is primarily a result of how some bids came in and then how many containers we needed to purchase this year. There's approximately $200,000 in the budget every year for container purchases, both Rosie, Ritchie, cardboard, 3 yards, all those, and we just did not need as many. It's kind of based on, we always budget what the maximum of the contract allows us to spend, but we base it upon inventory and need throughout the year. So there was enough funds left over in that. So those 3 funds combined will push across. If the board approves and signs off on it, those funds will be sent to finance to move towards this fuel account to make sure we are covered throughout the rest of the year.
Tell me again what account they're going into, because it looks like it's going into the same account.
That is
there may
incorrect
be a
there.
typo.
It is a typo at
Okay.
the bottom there. It should go into 6601-0506-203. That's from memory.
Oh,
2210 will be the last digits.
Okay,
Yes. That is a typo on the bottom line there.
okay. All right. Any questions, further questions or comments? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Bakshi?
motion for approval of budget transfer for fuel as presented with the account numbers to be amended as Pat has noted.
Okay. And I will second the motion. There's a motion and a second to approve the budget transfer for fuel as presented with the amendment of the account number as you noted. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item of business is the recommendation to approve wastewater discharge permit IMI-01-1128 for the Indiana Municipal Power Agency, expiring 11/18 of '28.
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Bakshi?
motion to approve as presented.
And I will second the motion. There's a motion and a second to approve the wastewater discharge permit as presented. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item of business is the recommendation to approve wastewater residuals disposal permit R-HTR 24, 25, 26, and 27 for Heater Plumbing LLC, expiring 10/1 of '27. Any, and I will entertain a motion.
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Bakshi?
motion to approve as presented.
There's, and I will second the motion. There's a motion and a second to approve the wastewater discharge disposal permit as presented. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item of business is the recommendation to approve wastewater residuals disposal permit R-RAN 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28 for Randolph Farms, Inc., expiring 11/18 of '28.
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Bakshi?
motion to approve as presented.
And I will second the motion. There's been a motion to approve the wastewater residuals disposal permit as presented. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item of business is the recommendation to award the bid for the hook truck.
Yes, Madam President, board member, at our October 29th board meeting, this board received 2 quotes for a new solid waste hook truck with a stellar hook lift body. Randy Wright, solid waste manager, and I reviewed both of these quotes, and it is our recommendation to the board to award this quote to Southeastern Equipment of Indianapolis. The truck will be a 2026 Freightliner chassis, M2106 Plus, with a stellar 20, or with a slider 20 seller hook body at the cost of $169,500. Southeastern Equipment of Indianapolis is the lowest and most responsive and responsible company to quote this.
Thank you. Questions or a motion?
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Bakshi?
recommendation to award bid for hook truck as presented.
And I will second the motion. There's a motion and a second to award the quote for the hook truck as presented. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item of business is the recommendation to award the bid for the roughing tower demo.
Yes, Madam President and Board. We received 3 bids at our last meeting for the roughing tower demolition project. These are 2 concrete towers with plastic media in them that were built in the early 80s but haven't worked for quite some time now. They've been taken out of our permit completely, so they're not required. After our wastewater treatment plant upgrade project that we completed a couple years ago, they're just no longer needed. Of the 3 bids, the apparent low bidder, Wilridge Homes LLC, was determined to be non-responsive because they did not include a bid bond with their bid. And so the recommendation is to award the contract to the second low bidder, which is Cooley Contracting LLC of Winchester, Indiana, to complete this project for a total contract price of $691,520. And we had budgeted $700,000 for this, so we came in just under.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Bakshi?
recommendation to award bid for roughing tower demo as presented.
And I will second the motion. There's a motion and a second to award the bid for the roughing tower demo as presented. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item of business is the recommendation to enter into an agreement with GRIP for flow monitoring.
Yes, Madam President and Board. Since 2009, GRIP Incorporated has been a provider for our flow metering equipment. At that point in time, we bid out services and equipment, and GRIP is the sole provider of Teledyne ISCO flow metering equipment, which is what we have purchased. And so every 3 or so years, we have updated contracts and receive proposals to continue that work and servicing and purchase as needed for our flow metering equipment. We did that here recently and received a proposal, and it's our recommendation to enter into a contract with GRIP Incorporated of Westfield, Indiana, to continue to provide equipment and services at the unit prices shown in their proposal for the year 2025, with options to renew for 2026 and 2027, 2 one-year additional terms. There's no amount of work that is necessarily guaranteed as part of this project. It's as needed. We do have some ongoing things that, you know, they do on a routine basis from a maintenance standpoint. Meters are required at our CSO locations, and so at a minimum, we have those meters installed. But throughout design work for our projects, this is what we use to do flow studies and get the data we need to design the sewer projects that we've been working on.
Do you also use them to measure the efficacy of the ones that have already been put in place?
Yeah, so they will do, like, for instance, this past year, we've went through a flow study, basically an update. So they'll provide the data. A lot of times if it's for a project and we are using a consultant for some of that, they'll review it as well as GRIP to kind of just ensure that it looks good and that it's working for what we're doing. But they'll also come in and do calibrations from time to time and just continue keeping them up to date and working.
Thank you. Any other questions or a motion?
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Bakshi?
motion for recommendation to enter into agreement with GRIP for flow monitoring as presented.
And I will second the motion. There's a motion and a second to enter into approve the entering into an agreement with GRIP Inc. for flow metering as presented. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item of business is the recommendation to enter into an agreement with Donahue for the wastewater treatment plant Phase 2 wet weather improvements, PER.
Yes, Madam President and Board. As you know, we have been working on CSO high-rate treatment facility preliminary engineering and going through different options. And we have gotten, since the flow study was recently completed and we have the data we need to continue that high-rate treatment preliminary engineering and get it to the point of, with all the options, us being able to choose an option, move forward with it. And part of this work then is to get a preliminary engineering report together so that we can submit it to SRF for financing. This agreement does that work. It basically brings our preliminary engineering report up to what we need for SRF, and it updates it with the flow study and finalizes all the options and analytics that surround the CSO high-rate treatment facility that we'll be working on here in the next couple of years. So it's my recommendation to award this to Donahue and Associates. Let me scroll back down to find the total cost for a total cost of $61,000. The majority of this work should be completed early next year, so we can keep moving with this project.
This is our last major component of our long-term control.
It is. It is our last big project. It is a very big project. But you know, all the other things, you know, getting flow out of the system or keeping flow in the system, depending on what we were looking at, led us up to this point. So you know, the flow study is done. We have those numbers, and now we can, you know, size this appropriately so it's not too big, not too small, and get us into compliance with our, or keep us into compliance really with where we're at moving forward.
Thank you. And I will, any other questions? Entertain a motion?
President Miller?
Yes, Mr. Bakshi?
Motion for recommendation to enter into agreement with Donahue for wastewater treatment plant Phase 2 wet weather improvements, PER, as presented.
And I will second the motion. There's been a motion and a second to enter into an agreement with Donahue for the wastewater treatment plant Phase 2 wet weather improvements preliminary engineering report as presented. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item of business is the recommendation to enter into an agreement for the purchase of a drone using Sourcewell contract number 011223.
Yes, Madam President and Board. This is something we've looked at for quite some time, both for use as a survey drone, getting survey data at the landfill that we have to do annually to submit to IDEM, doing survey work for just projects that we have. So in looking at different things, we also, and after talking to someone, realized the benefit of some thermal imaging that it can provide for us to be able to help locate manholes, probably not all year round, but when the weather is colder, we should be able to pick up heat from manholes that are you know, in the middle of the woods and we can't find, or even you know, buried but maybe not too deep. In talking to some law enforcement, they've indicated that they can see the underground utilities at times, and so that's an added benefit that we hadn't even been considering until recently. So it's our recommendation to award this purchase to RMUS through Sourcewell contract 011223-RMS for this drone and accessory.
This is sort of an out there question,
Sure.
but do governmental agencies have any restrictions on the use of drones?
We do. So we will, I say yes and no. We have to get licensed just like other commercial pilots. So that's a process. It's not terrible, but I think there used to be less restriction, and years ago, some of that kind of changed and shifted. And, we'd looked at a survey aircraft 10 years ago, maybe, and it's one, this is more the drone with the propellers on the top. We looked at one that looked more like a mini airplane. It was 3 times the money, and the day we demoed it, it was extremely windy, and the data we got just wasn't up to what we needed. And so this has RTK survey capability, which is basically, centimeter accuracy. And so we're excited to be able to do this, both get imagery, thermal imaging, and the survey stuff all in one thing. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? And is this to be split?
Oh, yes, I'm
50-50?
sorry. So it will be split 68% sanitary and 32% storm.
You said 68-32, or?
Correct, yep.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I will entertain a motion.
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Bakshi?
motion to enter into agreement for purchase of drone using Sourcewell contract 011223. The total cost will represent 68% of the purchase price, with the other going to stormwater.
And I will second the motion. There's a motion and a second to approve the agreement for the purchase of a drone using Sourcewell contract 011223 with sanitary funds for 68% and stormwater 32%. Guess, should they approve? Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Here, motion carries. The next item of business is the approval of payments for the easement acquisition.
Yes, Madam President and Board. As you know, we've been working on 2 sewer projects which will provide capacity to the Midwest Industrial Park. This is a gravity sewer, and there are not easements in place currently for this project. We have worked through with the law department offer letters, done some appraisals, and are still working through that process. But coming to you today to ask for your approval to authorize and approve the purchase of and payment for these easements for both the Midwest Industrial Park sewer and the Round Barn Road sewer projects for prices as allowed by state statute or as awarded through the judicial process. There are an estimated amount of easements is 13 with 8 unique property owners, and for a total of approximately 26 acres of land as we've identified them all right now. So we're just asking for your approval for those purchases and payments to whatever that legal amount ends up being for each one. So.
Will we later have to approve individual contracts, or because of this, will it?
I think that this should
Cover the whole
cover
thing.
things. We can update you as we go along the process for, what those amounts ultimately end up being. We don't have all the appraisals back yet, but.
Any other questions or a motion?
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Bakshi?
motion to approve the approval of payments for the easement acquisition as presented.
And I will second the motion. There's a motion and a second to approve the payments for the easement acquisitions as presented. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And that takes us to miscellaneous. Is there any other business to be brought before the board today? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn,
So moved.
and I will second the motion. There's a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries, and I will turn the meeting over to the Stormwater Board.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to call to order the November 18th, 2024 Richmond Sanitary District Stormwater Management Board meeting. The first item of the agenda is the approval of board minutes from October 29th, 2024.
And Acting President Bakshi, I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the October 29th, 2024 meeting as presented.
Okay, I will second. If there's any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion is approved. The next item on the agenda is the approval of invoices from check date October 25th, November 1st, November 8th, 2024.
And I would like to make a motion to approve invoices from check dates October 25th, November 1st, and 8th of 2024, totaling $13,064.45.
I will second. Is there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. The third item is the recommendation to enter into agreement with Donahue for wastewater treatment plant Phase 2 wet weather improvements, PER.
Yes, Mr. President and Board, so this is the same as we went over in the sanitary board meeting. We didn't talk about the split there, but we're looking at an 80-20 split with 20% coming from stormwater. So it's my recommendation to approve this contract with Donahue and Associates for a total cost of $61,000, of which 20% will come from stormwater.
Are there any questions, comments? I'll entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to approve that we enter into an agreement with Donahue for the wastewater treatment plant Phase 2 wet weather improvements, PER, with stormwater paying 20% of that cost.
I will second. If there's no other further questions or comments, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. The fourth item is the recommendation to enter into agreement for purchase of drone using Sourcewell contract number 011223.
Yes, Mr. President and Board. Again, this is same as we discussed in the sanitary board meeting. It's our recommendation to award this purchase to RMUS at a total price of $11,897.42 through Sourcewell contract 011223-RMS, with 32% of the cost coming from stormwater.
Are there any questions, comments? I'll entertain a motion.
And I would like to make a motion to approve the entering into an agreement for the purchase of a drone using Sourcewell contract 011223, of which 32% of the cost will be paid by the stormwater funds.
I will second. So there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Takes us to miscellaneous. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
I second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion adjourned. Thank you.
You are watching Whitewater Government Television, WGTV, Channel 11, part of the Whitewater Community Television